What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, we're going to talk a little boxing. First, I want to thank everybody for attending the live streams and donating to the channel. Thank you very much. Hope you guys that are not subscribed will subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can attend the live streams that we're going to do. That's really what we're trying to push the channel towards. So anyway, I want to thank all the subscribers that listen to the videos and help support the cause. This video is going to be about Eddie Hearn. You know, we're hearing a lot of stuff about the fighters that he's going to sign to this DAZN, this DAZN platform, and you know the money offers that he's making to Adrian Bronner, Jermell Charlo, and Deontay. I think Deontay Wilder. I know he's tried to. I don't know if he sent a specific offer to Deontay Wilder, but you know a lot of the Mikey Garcia and different fighters who are promotional free agents. And in doing so, man, it just the hypocrisy of Eddie Hearn, man. It's sometimes you can catch it, you know, because he'll say something one day and turn around and say something the next day. But sometimes, man, you know, he really comes with some golden stuff that you got to look back on. And I'm just wondering if these guys that he's making these offers to, or the people that talk about these offers, realize that he insulted just about everybody that is being made these offers, these big dollar offers that fans of Eddie Hearn are talking about on my page, and how Eddie Hearn knows how much money these guys are going to make, and and Eddie Hearn saying he's got this $1 billion to play with, and the money he's going to be paying these guys to get them on the zone, and he's going to be getting insinuating they're going to get career high paydays and all the such, right? But just 2 years ago, man, let me read to you what Eddie Hearn said, but also I'm going to get into what Jermell Charlo said about it. But dude, it's hilarious, man. This is what he said in 2006. So today is May 30th, 2018. But back a year, 2 years and a month ago, this is what Eddie Hearn had to say about the fights that were being made by Eddie Hearn, Al Haymon, and the PBC. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing has a working relationship with Al Haymon, the powerful advisor with numerous major boxers in his stable and the person behind Premier Boxing Champions. That doesn't stop Hearn from being critical of what he believes Haymon and PBC has done to the boxing marketplace. The problem is the market is so, excuse my language, effed up. Hearn said, the fighters are getting overpaid for non-challenging fights. It's got to stop, and it will stop. It will stop very soon. But because they're so comfortable, they're so happy just doing that. What you need is more fights like Thurman Porter. You need more fights like Santa Cruz Frampton. Less amount of shows, but more consolidated effort to work hard on individual shows towards individual events. Now let me read this again. The portion that's significant. The fighters are getting overpaid for non-challenging fights. And it's got to stop, and it will stop, and it will stop very soon. Now, I hope that you're getting the blatant hypocrisy here, right? 2 years ago, Eddie Hearn said that Al Haymon fighters are getting paid too much for uncompetitive fights. Non-challenging fights is what he said. But yet, he's now trying to outbid Al Haymon and the PBC for the very fighters that he said 2 years ago were getting overpaid for non-challenging fights. He mentions of the people, the challenging fights, he says Thurman Porter, Santa Cruz Frampton. But who are the people that who's the people he's trying to get? Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. was fighting in 2016. Deontay Wilder, Jermell Charlo, and Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia, I do believe in 2016 was not with the PBC. I believe that he started fighting with the PBC in 2017, if I recall correctly. But if that doesn't tell you and show you the nature of Eddie Hearn, nothing will. Eddie Hearn is going to say whatever he needs to say and do whatever he needs to do in order to make sure that Eddie Hearn is doing well. And if that means doing exactly what he's accusing other people of doing, he's more than willing to do that. But in this case, he's doing that by totally changing his position on what makes successful on the payment of fighters. Now, the reason I say that has to be a total flip-flop is because with the zone, there's no way that he can guarantee that for 3 fights that who's Adrian Bronner going to fight in 3 fights? Is he going to make him fight Mikey Garcia? Because we did just get an Adrian Bronner Mikey Garcia fight, right? I mean, but who is he going to force Adrian Bronner to fight? That's where Adrian Bronner is going to be in this highly competitive fight, as if Adrian Bronner has not consistently been in competitive fights. But, just let that wash over you. That a guy that would criticize Al Haymon for paying fighters for highly paying fighters. He says overpaying fighters for non-competitive fights would say something like this. And I paraphrase. He called Deontay Wilder, one of the reasons he said that he didn't want to make the fight that he didn't see a reason to make the fight or a reason against the fight for Anthony Joshua accepting this $50 million offer from Al Haymon and Shelly Finkel and Deontay Wilder, was that it was only a little bit more money for a lot more risk. So, and why would Anthony Joshua take on a massive risk when he can make basically the same amount of money for for taking fights with little or no risk? Right? Isn't that is basically what he said when in the article, another boxing scene article, when he talked about why would he fight that, $50 million, that's only 2 fights for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua can make that amount of money for taking a lot less risk and just fighting a couple more times. Isn't that almost the exact opposite of what he's criticizing? Isn't that almost the exact same thing that he just 2 years ago was criticizing Al Haymon for doing? It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So, I mean, like I said, with Eddie Hearn, sometimes, you can find out, you can hear him being hypocritical, the next day, or just telling a flat out lie or contradicting himself one day. Other times, you can either just listen to what he says, spend a little bit of time, and you'll be able to find when he contradicted himself over maybe a little bit further back. But they're almost always there. On one breath, he says, when criticizing Al Haymon, that Al Haymon is overpaying fighters, but then turns around and tries to outbid Al Haymon for the same fighters he criticized for getting paid too much. And, by the way, was dead wrong when he said, I have to say, he assumed that it's going to stop very soon. I mean, I'm not sure how else I can take this when he said that that it has to stop and it will stop very soon. Let me go back to this, because I do believe that's him predicting, at least that's the way that I read it, insinuating that Al Haymon was going to flop. right? He said the fighters are getting overpaid for non-challenging fights, and it's got to stop, and it will stop, and it will stop very soon. So in that scenario, he's to me, it's saying that hey, Al Heyman is paying these guys too much money for fights that aren't entertaining, and it's gonna stop because it's tearing up the marketplace. But in another little bit of magnificent hypocrisy, what is he doing now with Anthony Joshua? He's fighting guys. He's paying a guy a lot of money for non-competitive fights, non-challenging fights. He's had one challenging fight. Let me rephrase that. Vladimir Klitschko. He had one. Other than that, he was a massive favorite in every fight he's ever had. Except for the two fights that he wouldn't be have not been made yet. His fighter got offered $50 million to take one that was probably a 50-50, 55-45 fight, right? For massive amount of money, and he didn't take it. Under the same argument, I will repeat that why would you ever want to do that? Why would you want your fighter to take a big risk fight for more money when you could get a little less money and have little or no risk? But that's Eddie Hearn for you, man. That's Eddie Hearn for you. But at the same time, man, I got to tell you, I am encouraged by a couple things. And, well, let me put it this way. I don't think that he's going to be able to. He's having a hard time with these fighters with that. Now, I doubt it has anything to do with them just recognizing, the blatant hypocrisy of a statement that was made about them. Because he not only was criticizing Al Heyman, he's criticizing Al Heyman fighters 2 years ago by saying that they were getting paid too much money. And that's going to have to change. I'm not sure how I would take that if I was a fighter and I heard that he said that. How's he going to adjust it? Well, that's what I meant 2 years ago. I really didn't mean that you were getting overpaid. But I do want to put you in more competitive fights for, the same money or less money. Now, some people say that I've heard people say, because I'll address that too in this video, that Adrian Bronner was crazy for not taking the offer from from Eddie Hearn, because of the purse that was offered to him, was his biggest purse. And I find that kind of interesting. Now, I don't have the spreadsheets or the access to information that would tell me, exactly how much money that Adrian Bronner's making. But, it's a pretty telling sign when a guy says that your offer is garbage. And you see that the purse that's on record is that he's being offered is higher than the purse that he's made in the fights on record, right? That seems to be a little bit of a confusing thing. Like, how could that be? But as you reflect on it, I think that you'll understand, or I hope you'd understand, that there is more than one stream of revenue in a boxing event. And that a boxer's purse is not the only stream of revenue that comes in. The purse, there's also ticket sales for the venue. And for music concerts, between 50 and 80% of the money that's generated in that venue goes to the promoter and the entertainer for music concerts. I have to believe that the same equation is roughly the same for a boxing event, where a significant amount of that gate goes to the promoter. Now, if all the boxer's doing is getting a purse and they're not getting a cut of the gate, then that's a significant amount of the revenue that they're missing out on. There could also be other sources of revenue, right? I don't know what they all are, but for somebody like Adrian Bronner to say that offer was garbage and put it out there as if it's obvious that that's a garbage offer tells you. And by the way, Adrian Bronner is a promoter. He has About Billions promoter. promotions. So whatever the amount of money that the promoter is making, if Adrian Bronner's co-promoting with somebody, or she has a manager's team or somebody that's doing the day-to-day promotions under his promotional banner, all of the money that would be going to a Matchroom Boxing or would be going to a Top Rank would be going to about billions. And he can get some of that money. Now, let's go through what Jermall Charlo has to say about this offer. And I think it's very interesting. I've received, 2 great contracts from 2 different promoters. I don't look at myself as a free agent. You know what I'm saying? I have a general to answer to and make sure that we agree upon the most. The offers are big, they're large, they're nice, bigger than the BS that one of the other boxers in the industry posted. And I'm glad they're looking at me as one of the faces of boxing. That's the reason they're coming to me like this. But that's not something that's on my mind right now. I've definitely got to take care of this fight, then worry about myself with the promotional contract if necessary. Right now, I'm not with the promoter. I could be signing with Lions Only Promotions and make the same amount of money I'm making now, and I'm satisfied. So a lot of these guys use money to try to bring these fighters in, but that's not the route I'm going with. I'm going with who cares about my career the best, who cares about the most about my career. I do believe that we need promoters. We do need PR teams. We do need managers as a boxer. And therefore, we're looking into enhancing our careers and the statements behind it. Now, what does that tell me? First thing he says is that the offer that he's getting from these 2 promoters, which are, according to this article and Logic, Eddie Hearn, who said that he was trying to sign him, and Top Rank Promotion with Bob Arum, who also said that he's trying to sign Al Haymon fighters. And what he said is that these are good offers, bigger than the BS that is cow dung or bull crap, not very good offer, bad offer, crap offer that one other boxer in the industry posted. Now, who's gone out and posted an offer from a promoter recently? Clearly, that's Adrian Bronner. And if Jermall Charlo, who does not make the money that Adrian Bronner makes, because Jermall Charlo's purses are not as big as Adrian Bronner's. If Jermall Charlo thinks 2.0 million, 2.5 million, 2.5 million, three fight offer is garbage or BS, cow dung, that tells you something. That's not the first person to say that. And there's another side to it. Somebody came to my page and talked about what was offered to Mikey Garcia and said, Mikey Garcia said they're offering the best money anybody else has offered. That's not what Mikey Garcia said. Mikey Garcia said that they made a serious offer, that they're making serious offers, and he has some questions that he wants to ask about it. But he's not thinking about it right now because he's taking care of another fight. Let me tell you what the big hang-up would be for a guy like Mikey Garcia. And this is from the mouth of Richard Schaefer. That if they take an offer to fight on DAZN, they're fighting off of a budget and they don't have any chance to be in pay-per-view. And that's also what Eddie Sethback, shout out to Eddie Sethback, asked Mikey Garcia. And Mikey Garcia confirmed that that's one of the questions that he asked Eddie Hearn. What about pay-per-view? What about pay-per-view? Because that's where you make your big money. These guys, unlike Anthony Joshua, these guys are not having Al Haymon drop $50 million guaranteed offers on their head. But I know that they heard and saw that a $50 million offer had been dropped. And these guys are on the precipice or on the edge of the verge of becoming guys that can fight on pay-per-view cards. They're getting to the point where they can have pay-per-view fights. It's a high likelihood that a fight like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. A year from now, 2 years from now, can be a big pay-per-view show. Same thing for Mikey Garcia versus Vasyl Lomachenko. That could be a pay-per-view show. And those pay-per-view shows are where those guys have a chance to do like Gennady Golovkin did and Canelo Alvarez does and Anthony Joshua does and get $15-20 million in a fight. But if they take your $6.77 million 3-fight deal, which might have an option or whatever other stuff is tied to that, and on top of it, they've got to piss off the only pay-per-view networks that they can work with and walk away from HBO, walk away from Showtime to go with DAZN, an unheard of fledgling competitor in a market. That might not be the most attractable package. But the most interesting thing is, another interesting thing is that what does Jermall Charlo say? He says, I don't look at myself as a free agent. You know what I'm saying? I have a general to answer to and make sure that we agree on the most. I don't know if he means the most money or he means the most benefits, the best strategy for your career to go where you want to go. But the operative word is agree. And I have a general, somebody that has directed me to where I am and who, not coincidentally, yet ironically, is the same guy that Eddie Hearn criticized back in 2016 for paying these fighters too much money for the fights that they're fighting. And something that needed to end, should end, and will end soon. The irony is rich. The hypocrisy on the part of, and the contradicting, just full of crap nature of Eddie Hearn is almost always on display. And with that, I'm out. Peace.